Hello, hello. Alright, don't mind the mess. I still gotta situate this. I wanted to lock in real quick. I'm at the beach. Can you hear the sounds? It's a vibe. I know it's a vibe. So, I wanted to read a chapter or two on choosing civility. So, I'll do this before my iPad dies. I charged it, so it should be good. Choosing civility. Life and relationships. Okay. Part one. Part one. Life and relationships. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Lucas Aeneas Seneca. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Paul of Tarsus. 3 things in human life are important. The first is to be kind, the second is to be kind, and the third is to be kind. Henry James. Here we are, at the end of the century, drifting through a perilous age. We have no leaders we can trust, no visions to invest in, no faith to ride. All we have are our own potent moralities, our countless private codes, which we each shape and reshape. According to our own selfish needs, we don't dare to think too far ahead. We can't see too far ahead. Here we are, trapped by whatever season we find ourselves, enduring, waiting out the winter, staring at a drought sun, stupefied, helpless, or scrambling like fools to make it home before the rain really calms down, before the rain really calms down, and the dry river floods, and the hills crash into the valley. Where do we find the courage to do what is right? I came across this passage by novelist Peter Godot. When everybody was getting ready to celebrate the turn of both the century and the millennium, it was a striking description of a malaise with which, to a greater or lesser extent, many of us were familiar. Godot's words resonated with me in particular because of my involvement with the John Hopkins Civility Project, a cluster of academic and outreach activities aimed at assessing the prevalence of civility and good manners in today's society. While working on the project, I have been given thought to the widely perceived decline in the quality of social interaction, the so-called coercioning of America. Godot's words on the end of the 20th century apply to the beginning of the new century as well. Constant uncertainty about our identities and our future seems, at times, our only certainty, long established values appear obsolete. but to agree on what the nuance should be is a daunting task. Quite often, even we don't know where to look for standards against which to measure our efforts to be good citizens of the world. In fact, the notions of standards itself has been growing more and more problematic. And yet, we still need to be able to say yes to some things and no to others as a matter of principle and with enough conviction. We still need to believe in something that will give us our vital daily dose of meaning and motivation. As we grapple with the complexities of our age, I suggest in this book that we agree on one principle, that a crucial measure of our success in life is the way we treat one another every day of our lives. And then there's a quote that says, then good manners must be inspired by the good heart. There is no beautifuler of complexion or form or behavior like the wish to scatter joy and not pain around us. Ralph Waldo Emerson. When we lessen the burden of living for those around us, we are doing well. When we add to the misery of the world, we are not. To me, this is a simple, practical philosophy that makes sense and feels right. That makes sense and feels right. And since I started speaking in public on these issues several years ago, I have discovered that it makes sense and feels right to people from every walk of life and every part of the world. How are we to carry out the business of living day in, day out in accordance with this premise? I propose that as a society, we take a new close look at that intriguing code of behavior based on respect, restraint, and responsibility that we call civility. Turn this down a little bit. M. Scott Peck chose to open his wise guidebook to smart, decent, and loving living with an uttering, plain and clear statement. Life is difficult. Is the founding Life is difficult is the founding truth of his work. One he connects to life is suffering. The first of the Four Noble Truths taught by Buddha. Of course, countless versions of this truth appear in wisdom literature throughout history. Life is difficult. I like the simplicity of the utterance. We can all benefit from basic truths stated in direct and simple language. In the hasty confusion of our days, we easily lose sight of basic truths. As we fail to make them part of our everyday thinking, we eventually become unable to recognize them clearly and confront them effectively. And so we stumble through life in a cloud of dust raised by our own misguided steps. When we manage to make real contact with a basic truth, sometimes we are inspired to act upon it, and thus we may change our lives radically and permanently. Greatness is not just in the truth itself, but in what we can do with it. Once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult, says M. Scott Peck. Now we may be able to reach this wisdom and strength, or we may not. All of us, however, can find ways to cope effectively with difficulty. That life is difficult is the founding truth of any book that offers practical help. Millions of pages would not have been written if life were not difficult, and we didn't need help coping with its challenges. The message that we want to hear, that we never tire of hearing, is that although life is difficult, it is not unbearable. That there is something relatively simple that we can do to overcome life's difficulty. We are not passive vessels into which pain, anxiety, and sorrow are poured. In fact, we can become effective managers of our actions and emotions. As such, we can reduce the impact of sorrow and unhappiness upon our lives. Although life entails hardship and suffering, we can do something about it. We can always do something about it. We can always do something about it. Life may be difficult, but serenity, contentment, well-being, and even happiness are not only possible, but also within relatively easy reach. I am convinced that to a significant extent, life is what our relationships make it. Every page of this book is imbued with this simple conviction. Good relationships make our lives good. Bad relationships make our lives bad. We are usually happy or unhappy with others. Although at times we can be happy in spite of others, we are usually happy thanks to them, thanks to the good relationships we have with them. To learn how to be happy, we must learn how to live well with others, and civility is a key to that. Through civility, we develop thoughtfulness, foster effective self-expression and communication, and widen the range of our benign responses. Civility always Civility allows us to connect successfully with others. While there is no absolute while there is no substitute for healthy self-esteem, we also need to transcend ourselves, finding, and they put selves with a capital S. Finding a comfortable balance between the two is where everyday wellness and happiness begin, and what civility is all about. We exist and we perceive our identity not in a vacuum, but rather in relation to others. Life is relational. Whether we like it or not, we are wax upon which others leave their mark. When someone sees us as a thing to use or abuse, that becomes part of who we are in our own eyes as well. Self-esteem notwithstanding, when we are on the receiving end of an act of kindness, we feel validated. We translate that act into a very simple, very powerful, unspoken message to ourselves. I am not alone. I have value, and my life has meaning. What is civility? Maybe I was coming down with change of season influenza. If so, I should really consider buying a little white half mask for my subway ride home. Sujata Massey. For many years, this is chapter 2, I believe. Yeah. For many years, literature was my life. I spent most of my time reading, teaching, writing, on Italian fiction and poetry. One day, while lecturing on the Divine Comedy, I looked at my students and realized that I wanted them to be kind human beings, more than I wanted them to know about Dante. I told them that if they knew everything about Dante, and then they went out and treated an elderly lady on the bus unkindly, I feel that I had failed as a teacher. I have given dozens of lectures and workshops on civility in the last few years, and I have derived much satisfaction from addressing audiences. I could not have reached speaking on literature. I know, however, that reading literature can develop the kind of imagination without which civility is impossible. To be fully human, we must be able to imagine ourselves. To be fully human, we must be able to imagine others hurt and to relate it to the hurt we would experience if we were in their place. Consideration is imagination on a moral track. Sometimes the participants in my workshop write on a sheet of paper what civility means to them. In no particular order, here are a number of key civility-related notions I've collected over the years from those sheets. Respect for others, care, consideration, courtesy, golden rule, respect of others' feelings, niceness, politeness, respect of others' opinions, or I said respect of other feelings, respect of other opinions, maturity, kindness, manners, being accommodating, fairness, decency, self-control, concern, justice, tolerance, selflessness, etiquette, community service, tact, equality, sincerity, morality, honesty, awareness, trustworthiness, friendship, table manners, moderation, listening, compassion, being agreeable, going out of one's way, friendliness, lending a hand, propriety, abiding by rules, good citizenship, peace. This list tells us that civility is complex. Civility is good. Whatever civility might be, it has to do with courtesy, politeness, and good manners. Civility belongs in the realm of ethics. These 4 points have guided me in writing this book. Like my workshop participants, I am inclusive rather than exclusive in defining civility, courtesy, politeness, manners, and civility are all, in essence, forms of awareness. Being civil means being constantly aware of others and weaving restraint, respect, and consideration into the very fabric of this awareness. Civility is a form of goodness. It is gracious goodness, but it is not just an attitude of benevolence and thoughtful relating to others individuals. It also entails an active interest in the well-being of our communities and even a concern for the health of the planet on which we live. Saying please and thank you, lowering our voice whenever it may threaten or interfere with others' tranquility, raising funds for a neighborhood renovation program, acknowledging a newcomer to the conversation, welcoming a new neighbor, listening to understand and help, respecting those different from us, responding with restraint to a challenge, properly disposing of a piece of trash left by someone else, properly disposing of dangerous industrial pollutants, acknowledging our mistakes, refusing to participate in malicious gossip, making a new pot of coffee for the office machine for the office machine after drinking the last cup, signaling our turns when driving, yielding our seat on a bus whenever it seems appropriate, alerting the person sitting behind us on a plane when we are about to lower the back of our seat, standing close to the right side handrail on a escalator, stopping to give directions to someone who is lost, stopping at red lights, disagreeing with poise, yielding with grace when losing an argument. These diverse behaviors are all imbued with the spirit of civility. Civility, courtesy, politeness, and manners are not perfect synonyms as etymology clearly shows. In life, courtesy and self-possession, and in the arts style, are the sensible impressions of the free mind, and for both arise out of deliberate shaping of all things, and from never being swept away, whatever the emotion, into confusion or dullness. William Butler Yeats. Courtesy is connected to court and invoked in the past the superior qualities of character and bearing expected in those close to royalty. Etymologically, when we are courteous, we are courtier like. Although today we seldom make this connection, courtesy still suggests excellence and elegance in bestowing respect and attention. It can also suggest deference and formality. The very essence of politeness seems to be to take care that by our words and actions we make other people pleased with us as well as with themselves. Jean de la Bruyere. To understand politeness, we must think of polish. The polite are those who have polished their behavior. They have put some effort into bettering themselves, but they are sometimes looked upon with suspicion. Expressions such as polite reply, polite lie, and polite applause connect politeness to hypocrisy. It is true that the polite are inclined to veil their own feelings to spare someone else's. Self-serving lying, however, is always beyond the pale of politeness. If politeness is a quality of character alongside courtesy, good manners, and civility, it cannot become a flaw. A suave manipulator may appear to be polite, but is not. There is always a better way of doing everything. If it be to boil an egg, manners are the happy way of doing things. Each wants a stroke of genius or of love, now repeated and hardened into usage. Ralph Waldo Emerson. When we think of good manners, we often think of children being taught to say please and thank you and chew with their mouths closed. This may prevent us from looking at manners with the attention they deserve. Manner comes from manus, the Latin word for hand. Manner and manners have to do with the use of our hands. A manner is in the way something is done, a mode of handling, thus manners. To come to refer to behind, come to refer to behavior in social interaction. The way we handle the encounter between self and other, we have good manners. When we use our hands well, when we handle others with care, when we rediscover the connection of manner with hand, the hand that, depending on our will and sensitivity, can strike or lift, hurt or soothe, destroy or heal, we understand the importance for children and adults alike of having good manners. Being civil to one another is much more active and positive. A good, a good than mere, a good than mere politeness or courtesy, but like many other important goods, such as generosity, gratitude, and solidarity, it is not the sort of thing that can be demanded as a matter of duty, like a moral entitlement. Civility defining characteristic is its ties to city and society. The word derives from the Latin civitas, which means city, especially in the sense of civic communities. Civitas is the same word from which civilization comes. The old age assumption behind civility is that life in the city has a civilizing effect. The city is where we enlighten our intellect and refine our society, our social skills. And as we are shaped by the city, we learn to give ourselves for the sake of the city. Although we can describe the civil or as courteous, courteous, polite, and well-mannered, etymology reminds us that they are also supposed to be good citizens and good neighbors. So that's 2 chapters. The next is respect in action, and I'm on almost 30 minutes, so we'll save that for another day. Gonna clean up this mess now, and then get in the water. It's a nice day. I finally made it to the beach. I hope I got all this on my mic. Yeah, the water looks beautiful. With boats. I mean, look. Can you see it? What is it? Yeah, you can see it. You can see a little bit. Hello, bat. Hello, bat. Yeah. Maybe I'll work on crossing my legs. Would that be more appropriate? Yeah, probably should have did that the whole time. Darn. Civility. Isn't this neat though? I mean, isn't this a surprise? The water's about to feel so good. Finally made it to the beach. It's a vibe. I hope everyone enjoyed my little. We got so much to do. We got this too, God's wisdom for your every need. But that's that's about it. 30 minutes. Everybody have a good day. I hope this helps some people work on civility.